The morning starts the way it always does. Nia unlocks the side door of the diner, pushes with her shoulder, and steps into the smell of fresh coffee. The lights hum. The silver counters shine. She ties on a clean apron and smooths it flat. She touches the small coin in her pocket like a habit, then lets it go. The kitchen radio whispers an old song. The griddle warms, and the first hiss of butter sounds like rain. Nia moves through the place with quiet steps. She checks salt shakers, wipes down menus, and sets out rolled napkins with forks and knives. Her hands are steady. Her breath is calm. She has worked here for almost a year. It is not fancy, but it is honest work. People come for pancakes as big as plates and for coffee that always tastes the same. She likes the rhythm of it. Orders in. Orders out. Plates up. Plates down. There is comfort in doing the next small right thing. There is pride too, the kind that does not need a loud voice. She likes being the person who sees a need and fills it before anyone else notices. A refill before a customer asks. A warm smile before a long day begins. When the first rays of sun touch the front windows, the regulars arrive. Mr. Diaz opens the door with a soft bell ring and sits on his stool. He nods at Nia, and she nods back. The usual, she asks. Please, he says. She pours his coffee, sets down the small saucer, and adds cream when he gestures. The cook, Alma, calls good morning from the pass. The manager, Mark, appears with a clipboard, already counting eggs, already thinking about costs. Everyone falls into their roles like pieces of a song. Nia keeps her sleeves long even though it is warm. She does not mind the heat. The fabric makes her feel safe. Sometimes the cuffs slide back when she reaches for a tray, and a piece of skin shows where it healed shiny and smooth. Most days, no one looks at it long. Some days, people do. She has learned to keep moving when that happens. She is more than the marks on her skin. She knows this. Still, she feels better when the cloth covers them because it saves her from explaining a story she does not want to tell. There is a small tattoo near her wrist. It is simple, an eagle, a number, and a tiny motto inked in clean lines. She got it years ago, far from this town, with people who knew why it mattered. When she rolls dough for biscuits in the back, she stares at it and feels steady again. The tattoo means service. It means a promise made and kept. It means friends she will always carry in her heart, even if they live in different places now. She does not talk about that part of her life here. She came to the diner to work, to breathe, and to help her mother with the rent. That is enough. Ray takes the corner booth as the sky turns bright. He is an older man with kind eyes and a quiet way of moving. He sits where he can see the door and the kitchen too. He never rushes. He reads the local paper, folds it neatly, and sips his coffee like it is a small ceremony. He does not stare at Nia. He watches the room. He sees how she helps Alma when the orders stack up. He sees how she speaks gently to a teenager on his first day of work. He sees how she notices when Mr. Diaz looks sad and gives him a warm cinnamon roll that Alma made extra. Ray does not say much. He tips well. He leaves his booth cleaner than he found it. More people come in. A nurse stops on her way home from a night shift. A delivery driver grabs a bag of breakfast sandwiches and jokes with Alma. The air fills with the smell of toast and syrup and the soft sound of forks on plates. Nia moves faster now. She balances 2 plates on one arm and a third in her hand. She checks heat lamps, listens for her table numbers, and keeps track of who is waiting for what. She writes neatly on her pad and repeats each order like a promise. No pickles on the burger. Extra strawberries on the pancakes. No onions in the omelette. When a small boy spills his orange juice, she smiles and says, "No trouble at all," and takes care of it before his mother can worry. When a couple cannot decide what to order, She offers a simple idea, want to split the sampler? I can put the eggs on 2 plates. The couple laughs with relief. She likes solving tiny problems. The world gives so many large ones. Here, she can make small things right. It is a good feeling. Mark counts cups and glances at the clock. He is always watching the numbers, always chasing the next busy hour. He likes rules that keep the wheels turning. He is not unkind, just focused on the day's totals and the evening's schedule. When someone complains, he says, "We're doing our best," and moves on. When a customer is rude, he says, "Let it go," because he worries about bad reviews. Nia has learned this about him. She does not expect him to see what she sees. She carries her own sense of care inside her. It is lighter that way. By 9, the line reaches the door. The bell rings again and again. Alma works the grill like a dancer, flipping pancakes, sliding bacon, lifting omelets without ever breaking them. The dishwasher hums in the back. Ice rattles in glasses that never stay empty for long. Nia's ponytail brushes her neck as she turns from booth to booth. She hears bits of talk rise and fall like waves. Baseball. School fees. A job interview. A new puppy. Life, in ordinary pieces. She holds those sounds close because they remind her the world is not always heavy. It can be light too, even in the same hour. When the heat starts to climb, she pushes her sleeves up just a little. Not all the way. Just enough to keep her hands free. The small shiny skin on her forearm catches the light. She sees it and then looks away. She breathes in, steady and deep. Alma slides a plate across the pass. "Order up, table 6. Nia nods and goes. She keeps her eyes on the work. She stays with the next step, then the next. A woman at table 4 smiles and says, "Thank you, dear," when Nia brings more jam. A teenage boy gives her a shy thumbs up after she remembers his no mushrooms request. These tiny kindnesses matter. They stack inside her like bricks making a safe wall. On days when someone stares too long, these small, good moments still stand. They hold. She thinks of her mother. Her mother works mornings at a shop near the bus stop. They share a small apartment a few blocks away. Some nights they pass each other like trains. Some nights they watch old cooking videos together and try new recipes on weekends. Her mother tells her, "We are building a simple life." Simple is strong. Nia believes her. The simple things, clean counters, warm plates, a good night's sleep, are not small. They are steady. They let a person breathe. Ray lowers his newspaper when the door opens for the 100th time. He has a way of noticing without seeming to notice. He tracks the shape of the day like a sailor reading water. He sees when a customer's tone grows sharp. He sees when Nia takes one extra second to gather herself and then goes right back to kindness. He does not step in. He trusts her to lead her own story. But his eyes stay soft, and his attention stays with her. Not because she needs saving, but because he respects the quiet way she carries her load. The clock slides toward 10:30. The breakfast rush blends into the early lunch crowd. 2 friends come in and take selfies by the pie case. A family squeezes into a booth, parents on the outside, kids in the middle. The cook brings out a blueberry pie to cool on the counter. The room smells like sugar and summer. Nia thinks about asking Alma for a slice on her break. She will bring one home for her mom too, wrapped in wax paper, tucked into her bag like a surprise. Sometimes people ask about the tattoo. Most do not. When they do, she answers in a short way, soft and firm. "It is a unit symbol," she says. If they ask more, she says, "It reminds me of friends. It reminds me to be brave." That is true and enough. She does not share the rest, the heat, the smoke, the heavy air, the hands she held. She does not bring those memories into the diner. She keeps them in a quiet place where they are safe and honored. Here, she brings calm. Here, she brings care. A bus hisses to a stop outside. New voices rise in the line by the door. Mark rubs his hands together as if he can speed the day along. Nia checks table 7, then table 8, then glances toward the corner booth. Ray meets her look and gives a small nod, the kind that says, "You're doing great." She feels that nod like a warm coat. She nods back and moves on. At the soda machine, a young co-worker named Eli fumbles with lids. He is nervous because it is only his second week. Nia shows him a trick: stack the cups upside down with a paper towel between them. "They won't stick that way," she says. Eli smiles with real relief. "Thanks." She likes helping new people feel steady. Someone once helped her that way, too. The door opens again, and a group steps inside. They are loud from the start, not in a mean way at first, just full of energy. They laugh about a game they watched last night. They talk over one another. They scan the room and choose a booth in the middle where everyone can see them. Nia takes a breath and smooths her apron. She gathers menus and water glasses. She walks toward them with the same calm she brings to every table. "Good morning," she says with a friendly tone. "Welcome in." She sets the waters down. She tells them about the pancake special and the soup of the day. One of them cracks a joke about needing extra coffee, and she laughs politely because it is kind to meet people where they are. She takes their orders with care, repeating each one to make sure she has it right. She does not hurry, but she moves with purpose. When she steps away, their talk grows faster and sharper. She does not turn back. She focuses on the kitchen, on the time, on the path ahead. She picks up another table while she waits for their food. She brings toast to a quiet couple near the window. She wipes a ring of condensation from a table before it can leave a mark. She checks the pie. She checks the coffee. She checks her list. The group laughs again, louder now. It rolls across the room and bounces off the windows. Nia knows this sound. It is not always unkind. Sometimes it is just noise. She chooses not to judge it yet. She chooses the next good task. Her sleeves have crept higher in the heat. The shiny skin on her forearm shows when she reaches for a stack of plates. She feels air touch it and feels the old pull inside her that says, "Tug the fabric down." She keeps her hands steady instead. She reminds herself, "You are here. You are doing good work. You are safe." The words are simple and true. Alma calls the order for the group. Nia sets everything on a big tray: eggs, pancakes, breakfast potatoes, a side of fruit. The tray is heavy, but she balances it well. She walks with it as if she is carrying something fragile. In a way, she is. She is carrying the soft peace of the room and the dignity of her own day. She places each plate in front of each person with a soft word. "Plates are hot, careful there. Extra syrup for you. I'll be back with more napkins." She turns to go and hears the group's laughter again, but this time it dips, and a different note enters it. It is not about a game or a friend's story now. It brushes her skin like a cold draft. Their voices drop to a hush that is not kind. She does not catch the words, just the shape of them, just the quick glances, just the way a hand covers a mouth to hide a grin. She feels the old ache rise, the one she thought she left behind when she started fresh here. She pauses for half a second at the edge of the booth, then keeps moving because the best answer is to keep doing the job well. At the corner, Ray's newspaper does not move. But his eyes do. They lift from the page, and they become very still. He is not trying to overhear. He is listening because the room has shifted and because he has learned to notice small changes. He sees Nia's shoulders set in that polite, careful way. He sees the edge of her tattoo flash when she lifts a pitcher. He sees the way she makes space for others without giving up her own space. Nia reaches the service station. She arranges extra napkins in a neat fan, fills the water pitcher, and lays a hand for one breath on the cool stainless steel. She does not run from the sound behind her, and she does not rush back to it either. She chooses the rhythm that lets her stay herself. She walks to table 2 to ask if they need anything else. She laughs with the little boy who now has a paper crown made from his placemat. She carries peace like a quiet lantern from table to table. When she turns toward the middle of the room again, she knows the group is still watching. The light from the window falls across her arm, and the small tattoo shows for a heartbeat before the sleeve slips down again. A number. An eagle. A motto too small to read from far away. In the corner booth, Ray's hand stills around his coffee cup. His eyes change in a way that only someone who knows would notice, as if a door inside his memory has opened. He exhales slowly, like someone making a decision that matters. The bell on the door rings once more. A breeze moves the menus in their holder. The smell of blueberry pie floats through the room. The day looks the same to most people. Forks clink. The radio plays. The cook calls orders. But something quiet has shifted. Nia does not yet know it. She only feels the small weight of being seen and tries to carry it with grace. She straightens a sugar caddy, checks her notebook, and starts back toward the center of the room, where laughter waits and where something truer is about to begin. The laughter from the middle booth spilled into the air like a bright ribbon, but there was a sharp edge on it now. Nia knew that edge. It made the skin between her shoulder blades feel tight. She carried the water pitcher back to them and kept her voice warm. "How's everything tasting?" she asked. "It's good," one of the men said, and gave her a quick grin. "Hey, can we get more syrup?" His friend made a comment too quiet to catch. Another covered his smile with his hand. The woman at the end of the booth lifted her phone as if she were taking a picture of the pancakes. The flash did not go off, but the phone faced Nia longer than it needed to. Nia felt the old heat rise in her cheeks. She set the syrup down gently, nodded, and turned away. At the service station she refilled the creamers. The stainless counter cooled her palms. She counted breaths. In out. In out. She had learned that calm was not a gift. Calm was a skill, and she had worked hard to keep it. She checked her order pad. She checked her station. She checked the clock. The hands moved even when the room felt stuck. That was a comfort. Ray watched the room without staring. He had learned that too, the art of seeing while making no one feel seen in the wrong way. The line of his shoulders stayed soft, but his eyes were alert. He saw the way the phone had tilted. He saw the way the group's laughter followed Nia like a shadow. He did not move yet. He waited as if listening for the right time. Nia went back with the extra napkins. "Here you go," she said, and placed them carefully. She kept her sleeves low, but the heat of the room had a way of making the cuffs slide. As she reached across to set a plate right, the edge of her sleeve drifted up. The small eagle, the tiny motto, the number ink that was steady when so much else had once shaken showed for a heartbeat. Ray's eyes fixed on that mark. Something quiet changed in his face, not anger, not surprise, recognition. He knew that emblem the way a person knows their own name. He knew the number. He knew the motto. It brought back a set of voices, a certain morning, a base far from here. He placed his cup down softly and did not drink. He kept his eyes on his paper so no one would feel watched. But inside, he was already standing up. The booth laughers ramped up again. "Look," one of them whispered, and they all leaned in. Nia did not turn her head. She felt a sting, the kind you get when you are not shocked, only tired, so tired. She finished the last small task and stepped away. At the counter, Mark was lining up to go lids, counting each stack as if control could be held in even numbers. "We okay?" he asked without looking up. Nia kept her tone light. Table 9 is a little loud, she said. They may be taking pictures. Mark made a face that said he was already running late. It's a big party day, he said. Don't poke it. We need those covers. He smiled like the conversation was solved and moved toward the register. Nia nodded because she could not think of a new way to say the thing she had said before. She did not want a scene. She did not want anyone thrown out. She wanted the same simple thing she wanted every day: basic kindness, space to work, a little respect. She watched Mark walk away. A small cold place opened in her chest, the kind that comes when someone in charge keeps choosing the easy path. She turned back to the floor, to the work that anchored her. It carried its own mercy. At table 2, the little boy who wore a paper crown now had a paper mustache, too. He waved at her as if she were a famous person. She waved back, and that helped. At table 4, the older woman who said dear needed a warm-up on her tea. Nia moved through each simple step, and the chill in her chest softened. But the booth's energy did not soften. They joked. They repeated lines. They looked at her and then at each other. Sometimes their words were only air. Sometimes they were words that tried to turn her scars into a story they owned, not hers. She did not hand them that story. She handed them ketchup. She handed them extra forks. She handed them the bill when they asked for it. On the way back to the service station, she caught her reflection in the glass of the pie case. Her eyes looked steady. Her chin was lifted. The sleeves held, but she could still feel a draft on her forearm, a reminder that the morning had shifted. She wiped the glass with a soft cloth. She put the cloth down. She told herself, "You are here. You are doing good work. You are safe." "Hey," Eli whispered, sliding into the station with a stack of cups. "You okay?" "I'm fine," she said, and she meant it, and she also meant "I'm tired." Eli nodded like he did not want to make it heavier. He knocked his elbow on the soda machine, and they both smiled because the small clumsy things of life still happened, even in odd moments. A little later, the group paid. They left in a wave of cologne and chatter. One of them tossed a thanks over his shoulder as if it were a coin. The bell on the door rang behind them, and the room felt bigger again. Nia exhaled slowly. She did not chase her thoughts where they wanted to run toward memory, toward old smoke and sirens. She stayed here. She took plates to the dishwasher. She wiped the booth. She found a napkin under the table with a doodle on it, a little cartoon pancake with a smile. She threw it away with care. At the corner booth, Ray folded his newspaper, set exact change under the edge of his plate, and added a tip that was more than generous. He stood and adjusted his jacket. Then he walked toward the service station with a steady step, the step of a man who had decided to do something and would do it with respect. "Ma'am," he said softly, keeping his voice at a level that was private but not secret. He waited for her to look up. When she did, he took off his cap. "A word, if you've got a second." Nia felt alert at once. She knew his face from many mornings, and she knew kindness when she heard it. "Of course," she said, and tucked a stray hair behind her ear. She glanced toward the kitchen. Alma was fine. The floor was fine. She could spare 1 minute and still keep the room rolling. "I don't want to step out of place," he began. "You've been doing a good job. You always do." He paused, measuring his next line. "I noticed your wrist for a moment. The mark. The eagle." Her fingers moved, almost without thinking, to pull her sleeve down 1 more inch. She did not hide the tattoo for him, only for herself, to feel steady while she thought. "It's an old one," she said, "simple and even." He nodded. "It's a good one," he replied. He did not say the number aloud yet. He did not say the motto. He let her choose the door to this talk and whether to open it. I just wanted you to know I saw it. And I know what it means. Nia looked at him fully. There was no pity in his face, only respect. She noticed small details, the lines at the corners of his eyes that came from smiling outside in bright weather, the way he kept his hands still to show he was not a threat, the way he stood not too close. She let out a breath she had not known she was holding. "Thank you," she said. 2 words. But they carried more. They carried the morning and the years before it. Ray glanced toward the door where the loud group had gone. "You shouldn't have to carry that alone," he said, not as an order, not as pity, simply as a fact, like saying the sky was blue. "If you ever want someone to stand nearby when a room gets strange, you tell me where to stand." Nia smiled then, a real one that reached her eyes. "I appreciate it," she said. "Most days it's fine. Today was just," she searched for the word. "Not cruel. Not heavy. Tiring. That's the right word," he said. "Tiring." He reached into his pocket, then stopped himself. "May I share something small?" She nodded. He placed a coin on the counter. It was old brass, smooth at the edges, with a symbol stamped deep. "I carry this to remind me of a few people I never want to forget," he said. "No pressure to take it. Just, sometimes a small weight in the pocket helps when the air gets noisy." Nia did not pick it up yet. She looked at it. She understood what it was and also what it meant to hand it over. "You keep yours," she said softly. "I have one of my own." She tapped her apron pocket, and that small joke, that shared truth, made them both smile. Ray nodded, pleased. "Good," he said, lifting the coin back into his hand. "Even better." He placed a business card on the counter instead. On it were only a name and a phone number. "No need to call," he said. "Just a line in case you ever need a witness to what you've done. Or if you want an extra pair of eyes on a review page. That sort of thing." Nia thought of the phone lifted like a mirror earlier. She thought of words thrown into the air and stuck there, hard to clean up. She slid the card toward her notepad. "Thank you," she said again. The words felt like a small door opening. Air moved differently on the other side of it. Mark walked by, and Ray stepped back so he would not be in the way. "Everything okay?" Mark asked, still moving. "All good," Nia said. She wanted to say more, to ask whether they could set a simple line about photos, about respect, about the kind of place this diner wanted to be. But Mark was already past her, pulled forward by the next task and the next. She let him go. The talk could come later. Maybe. If not with him, then with someone else. For now, she had a room to hold steady. Ray tipped the brim of his cap. "You take care," he said. "You too," Nia replied. He returned to his booth, lifted his cup for one last sip, and left it there empty. He placed his hand for a second on the back of the seat, like someone saying a quiet goodbye to a place he respected. Then he walked out with his shoulders relaxed and his step easy. The door closed. The bell made its soft note. The sound fell into the diner's larger song, forks, plates, low talk, the radio's light beat. Nia slid the card into the pocket behind her notepad. She felt the paper against her palm. It did not feel like a burden. It felt like a small support beam added to a house that already stood. She finished resetting the station. She carried a fresh tray of cups to Eli, who thanked her like she had rescued him from a storm. She checked on Mr. Diaz, who asked her if the blueberry pie tasted as good as it looked. "Better," she said, and promised him a slice later. When she reached the middle of the room again, the booth where the loud group had sat was empty, clean, quiet. The sun had slid a little higher, and the light changed on the floor tiles. She felt that shift inside too. The morning's numb ache loosened its hold. It wasn't gone, but it wasn't the driver anymore. It was a passenger, and she held the wheel. She thought, for a brief second, about leaving this job. She had told herself before that if it ever became too much, she would go. She could find work somewhere else, a place with fewer eyes. But then she looked around. She saw Alma flipping an omelette like a magician. She saw Eli laughing with relief as he got the lids to stack right. She saw the couple near the window split their sandwich with care, each one making sure the other got the bigger half. She saw Ray's empty booth, the cup still warm. She felt the coin in her apron pocket from a different day, a different life, and the card next to her notepad from this one. And she knew she would not leave today. At the register, a woman hesitated with her wallet, embarrassed that she had forgotten her coupon. "Don't worry," Nia said with an easy shrug. "We'll still honor the discount." The woman's face softened with gratitude. "You're an angel," she whispered. Nia laughed. "Just a waitress," she said, but she felt lighter because kindness, like rudeness, also flows outward, and today she wanted to be a source of the better kind. She took her small break by the back door. The alley held a strip of shade and the smell of bread from the bakery 2 buildings down. She leaned against the brick wall and let the coolness seep into her back. She did not scroll her phone. She did not chase online words. She just breathed. She looked at the sky between 2 fire escapes and counted 5 pigeons on the wire. One of them bobbed its head like it was saying yes to some secret plan. When the break ended, she washed her hands, tied her apron again, and stepped back into the day. The room greeted her with its usual music. She picked up plates. She poured coffee. She felt present in a way that had a clean edge, not the brittle edge from before, but the firm edge of a person standing where she chooses to stand. On her way past the pie case, she saw her reflection again. It looked like her, no more and no less. She lifted her sleeve a little and looked at the tattoo. She did not need to read the motto. She knew it by heart. She let the sleeve fall. She moved forward. Later, she would think about how to speak to Mark, not to blame, but to suggest a better path, clear signs about photos, a simple practice for staff when someone crosses a line, a shared promise that the diner would be a place where people were fed, not mocked. She would write the ideas down first, neat and short, because that was how her mind worked best. She would ask Alma for advice. She would keep Ray's card in her pocket while she did it, not to wave it around, just to feel that she did not have to do it alone. For now, the lunch crowd grew. People laughed about kind things. Someone took a photo of their sandwich because it was stacked just right, and Nia smiled because the photo was of the food, and the world could be that simple. She moved through the room with her steady step, carrying plates like promises, carrying herself like a person who knew the value of quiet strength. The morning had tried to make her small. The day would not end that way. In a corner of her heart, a small door had opened, and fresh air came in. The next morning, the sky was pale and gentle when Nia unlocked the side door. She liked coming in before the rush. The quiet gave her space to set her mind like a table, neat, ready, calm. She tied on her apron, checked the salt shakers, and set out napkins. Alma flipped on the griddle. The first curl of steam rose. Life felt simple again for a few minutes, the way she wanted it. Her phone buzzed near the register. She almost ignored it, then looked. A new review had been posted overnight. 1 star. The words were short but heavy. It said the service was distracting, that the waitress should cover up, and there was a small, blurred photo from across the room. It was not a clear picture, but anyone who knew her would know. For a second, the room seemed to lean. She didn't move. She just breathed. In and out. In and out. Calm was not a gift. Calm was a skill. She used it now like a tool. She slid the phone face down and turned to the coffee machine. Pour. Wipe. Stack the cups. Simple steps. Still, the review sat in her mind like a stone. When Mark came out with his clipboard, she waited until he finished counting. "There's a new review," she said in a quiet voice. "It has my picture. I think we should flag it." Mark frowned at the word flag, but not at the picture. "Let me see," he said. He read fast, tapped his pen, and made a tight mouth. "It's not great," he said, "but the worst thing we can do is make it bigger. If we reply, they'll reply back. Best to let it sink." "It has a photo," she said. "That makes it different." He shifted his weight and glanced at the door, already thinking of the next task. "Tell you what," he said, "I'll ask the owner later. For now, can you take the back section? Fewer walk-ins, see you there." He said it like a plan, like he was helping. But the way the words landed made a cold line run across her shoulders. She nodded and said, "Okay," because there was work to do, and the breakfast crowd was already forming. But inside, she felt the small sting of being told to step out of sight when she had done nothing wrong. Mr. Diaz came in and brightened the room with his easy smile. "The usual?" she asked, and the familiar rhythm helped. A nurse settled on a stool and sighed with relief at the first sip of tea. A child in a dinosaur hoodie pressed his nose to the pie case. Ordinary moments stacked up around her like bricks, strong and steady. Ray arrived and took his corner booth. He lifted a hand in greeting. His eyes moved in that quiet way of his, observing, not pressing. He ordered coffee and eggs, and when she set the plate down, his voice stayed low. "Morning," he said. "I saw something online." He did not say review. He did not say photo. He respected her by not pushing the sharp word into the air. "I saw it too," she said, keeping her tone even. "Do you want me to report it?" he asked. "I already did once, but more flags help." He said it like offering to carry a bag down a step, not like saving anyone. "Thank you," she said. "Yes. If you have time." The words loosened a little knot inside her chest. He nodded. "I made a couple of calls last night," he added, almost like an afterthought. "I still keep in touch with a few folks. I asked around, careful like. 2 people who served with your unit would be honored to say hello if you ever want that. No pressure. I wrote their numbers down." He slid a folded piece of paper across the table with 2 names, neat as a list for the grocery store. Nia looked at the paper but didn't touch it yet. It felt like a bridge and also like a bright light. "Thank you," she said again. "I don't always talk about that time." "You don't have to," he said. "But you don't have to be alone with it either." His eyes were kind but steady. He did not add advice. He did not add weight. He just offered a small safe corner in the world. She slipped the paper behind her order pad. The room called her back. Plates needed carrying. Coffee needed pouring. She went, and the work gathered her like it always did. By noon, the diner was full. Eli fumbled a stack of lids and recovered with a grin. Alma sent out pancakes so perfect you could measure with them. At table 3, the dinosaur hoodie kid and his little sister argued about whether blueberries were better than chocolate chips. Life felt large and friendly again for a while. Near 1, a couple who had been quiet asked for their check. As Nia set it down, the woman held her eyes a beat longer and said, "I hope you know you're doing great work." The words were soft but strong. Nia didn't know if the woman had seen the review. Maybe kindness didn't always need a reason. Maybe it was its own reason. "Thank you," Nia said, and felt the warmth of it spread. On her short break, she stepped to the back door and called her mother. She told her about the review in simple terms. There was a pause. Then her mother, who believed in simple strength, said, "You did not hide in the fire. Don't hide from small people with phones. The words made Nia smile. They were gentle and wise and also practical, like a recipe that always worked. Back on the floor, she drafted a note on a small pad between tables, one clean sentence at a time, the way she liked to think. Ideas, she wrote at the top. Then 3 short lines: 1. Clear sign by door, no photos of staff. 2. Simple phrase for staff when a line is crossed, we don't do that here. 3. Manager backs staff in the moment, talk to guests away from floor. She looked at the words. They felt steady and useful. She slid the note into an envelope with Mark's name. When the rush slowed, she handed the envelope to him. Some ideas for later, she said, not demanding, just offering. Mark took it with a distracted thanks, eyes already on his screen. 10 minutes later, he taped a new memo in the break corner. Reminder, we avoid conflict with customers. Smile and move on. The line was meant to keep peace. Instead, it felt like a curtain drawn across a window that needed sunlight. Alma read it, raised an eyebrow, and gave Nia a look that said, that's not it. Nia breathed, held her own center, and kept going. In the late afternoon, her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. A number she didn't know. She almost sent it to voicemail. Instead, she answered. Hello. Is this Nia? A clear woman's voice asked. This is Lena. We served in the same place a few years back. Ray passed your number, only with his promise you wouldn't mind. Nia stepped into the hall by the mop sink where it was quiet. Hi, Lena, she said, careful, curious. You don't know me, Lena said, but I know that motto on your wrist and I know what it costs to carry it. I heard you had a rough day with some rude folks. I wanted to say 3 things: you're not alone, you did nothing wrong, and if you want, I'll swing by sometime with a friend so the staff can put faces to the respect you deserve. The words lowered something inside Nia that had been standing too tall all day. Thank you, she said. I don't know if I'm ready for a visit. No rush, Lena said. Your schedule, your terms. Also, she added, and Nia could hear a smile in it, if you ever want to trade pie for stories, I can do that trade. Nia laughed softly. We have blueberry today, she said. Then you're already winning, Lena replied. Take care. They hung up with a feeling like a hand squeezed through a door. When Nia returned to the floor, Eli was at the soda machine, frowning at a stuck lever. Talk nice to it, Nia said, and bumped the panel just so. The lever popped free. You're magic, Eli said. He glanced at the memo and shook his head. For what it's worth, if someone is rude again, I'm right there with you. I know, she said, and she did. Little teams inside bigger teams. That was how good days were built. A mother with a curious toddler reached for Nia's arm a bit later, then pulled back, embarrassed. I'm so sorry, she said. My daughter asked where your marks came from at home, and I told her people heal in many ways, but she might ask you too. Please don't feel you have to say anything. It's okay, Nia said, and bent to the child's eye level. Sometimes people get hurt. Then doctors and friends help, and we get better. That's all. The toddler nodded, wide-eyed, satisfied. The mother mouthed thank you. The exchange was simple and clean, like a small window open to fresh air. In the late day, a man in a work shirt with a city patch took the counter stool and ordered chili. He ate slow and watched the room with a good face. When he paid, he said, I work fire. Those are healing marks. Respect to you, very softly, so only she heard. She nodded and felt both seen and safe at once. Before closing, Ray returned for a second cup of coffee, unusual for him. He waited until there was a quiet moment and stood by the service station the way he had yesterday, present, not pressing. How did your day land? He asked. Better than it started, she said. I spoke to someone from my old unit. She was kind. He smiled. Good. I spoke to the community board for local businesses, he said. They have a template for no photos of staff signs and a little script for training. I printed a copy and put it in an envelope with your name on it. You can use it or not. It's not my place to push, but sometimes ready-made helps a manager say yes. She blinked, surprised and grateful. You didn't have to do that. I didn't have to drink 2 cups of coffee either, he said, light as a joke. But here we are. Then his tone grew quieter. 2 friends of mine will be in town tomorrow for an appointment. They asked if they could stop by for lunch. Only if you say it's okay. We can sit in the side booth, say hello, and keep it gentle. No speeches. No parade. Nia looked toward the ceiling, the lights mirrored in the steel of the pass. She thought of the review, of the cold line on her shoulders, of the small warm moments that had wrapped around her all day like a kindly scarf. She thought of Lena's voice. She thought of the toddler nodding. She thought of not hiding. Okay, she said. Lunch is fine. Gentle is good. Ray nodded once, satisfied, like someone checking a knot on a rope. Then we'll be your quiet corner, he said. And if at any point you decide no, we vanish without offense. Thank you, she said. The gratitude felt larger than the moment. It touched old rooms in her heart and brought a little light into them. That night, after the last customer left, Nia and Alma wiped the counters in companionable silence. The air smelled like soap and lemon. Nia took out her note for Mark and added a small line at the end, happy to help train new staff on this. Offering help felt stronger than asking for protection. It sounded like leadership, and she knew she could do it. On her way out, she taped a small, friendly sign near the staff door, not for customers, but for the team. It said, "We look out for one another." She didn't ask permission to put that one up. She figured any place worth working would want that sentence on its wall. At home, she and her mother shared leftovers and laughed at a cooking show where everything went wrong but ended delicious anyway. Before bed, Nia took the folded paper from her pocket and read the 2 names again. She traced the letters with her finger, not to memorize them, but to say hello in her mind. Then she set the paper on her nightstand next to a book and a small plant, normal things that made a home feel like home. Morning came clear and bright. She woke without the heavy feeling she sometimes carried after a hard day. On the walk to work, she noticed the florist on the corner had placed a bucket of sunflowers on the sidewalk. The flowers turned their faces like they were listening to the sun. It made her smile for no reason other than joy. She reached the diner early and brewed the first pot of coffee. As the smell drifted out, she smoothed her sleeve and looked at the small tattoo for a second. She didn't need to read the motto. She knew it by heart. She let the cloth fall, set cups on saucers, and felt ready. When the door opened at lunchtime, Ray came in with 2 guests. They were not loud. They were not dramatic. They walked with the easy care of people who had learned to enter spaces softly. Nia felt her chest lift, not from fear, but from something like hope. Whatever came next, she would meet it with the same simple, steady way she brought to everything else, one clean step, then another. The day had given her new weight to carry, but also new hands nearby. She did not feel alone, and that changed the shape of everything. The lunch hour began soft and bright. Sun slid across the chrome edge of the counter. The smell of grilled onions and fresh coffee mixed in the air. Nia moved with her steady rhythm: pour, place, smile, listen. She felt prepared, not because she knew what would happen, but because she trusted herself to meet it when it came. Ray arrived right on time with 2 guests. They did not walk like people who wanted attention. They walked like people who knew rooms are made of other people's stories, and you enter with care. The woman was Lena, tall and calm, hair pulled back, eyes bright and kind. The man beside her wore a plain jacket and carried a flat-wrapped bundle under one arm. He introduced himself as Miguel. Quiet voice, warm handshake, a small scar at the edge of his temple that looked old and well-healed. Side booth? Ray asked, keeping it simple. Perfect, Nia said. She led them to the booth along the wall where the light was gentle and the view of the room was clear. She brought water without being asked and, because it felt right, a small plate with lemon slices. Simple care. When she set the glasses down, Lena's hand hovered for a second, then she squeezed Nia's fingers once. It was a quick, private hello, no more than that, but it felt like a promise of ease. They ordered like regular people. Soup for Lena. A club sandwich for Miguel. Ray asked for the daily special and, very seriously, a slice of blueberry pie for Team Morale. They all smiled at that. While the kitchen worked, they did not press Nia for stories. They asked about the fresh bread from the bakery down the block. They praised Alma's perfect pancakes. They asked Eli how long he had been learning the ropes. The room settled around them like a comfortable sweater. Mark watched from the register, curious, cautious. He liked when familiar faces brought friends and when lunch traffic stayed steady. He did not yet know what this lunch meant. Nia did not push him to know. She kept the room moving. She refilled tea. She checked on Mr. Diaz. She gave the little boy with the paper crown a second straw because he liked to blow bubbles and his mother found it funny. When the food came, Nia set the plates down with care. The wrapped bundle Miguel had brought sat on the bench between him and Ray, still quiet, still sealed. They ate first. They talked about weather and traffic and a funny sign on the corner store, fresh eggs yesterday's, today. They kept everything soft. Halfway through the meal, Ray looked around the room. It was full but not loud. People were relaxed, laughter kept to its corners, voices at a neighborly level. He caught Nia's eye and lifted 2 fingers. May I? She nodded. He stood up, not tall, not dramatic, just steady. He walked to the pass where Alma slid plates onto the ledge. He asked gently, Mark, could I borrow you for 5 minutes? And your attention? No trouble. Just a small bit of respect I want to pay, if that's all right. Mark blinked, taken off his usual track. He glanced at the clock like managers do. 5 minutes felt like a lot during lunch. But something in Ray's tone, polite, firm, no hint of show, made it easy to say yes. Sure, he said. What's up? Here is best, Ray said. This is her place of work. This is where it matters. He looked to Nia for permission one more time. She gave a small nod. He turned back to the room. He did not shout. He did not clang a spoon on a glass. He just let his voice carry in that calm way that makes people lean in. Friends, he said, I don't want to interrupt your lunch. I only want to put something true in the air of this diner we all like. He placed his hand over his heart, not as theater, only to steady himself. Yesterday, some folks made sport of a person here. They turned a worker into a target. That didn't feel right in my bones. Today, I brought 2 people who know the truth behind a small mark on a wrist and the story behind a few scars. Miguel stood and unwrapped the flat bundle. Inside was a simple black frame with a cloth patch mounted under glass, the unit insignia, the eagle, the number, the little motto stitched in tight thread. He set the frame on the counter by the pie case where anyone could see it without getting up. Sun on glass. Quiet shine. Lena did not step forward. She did not take the floor. She only said in an even voice that carried, some marks are just marks. Some marks are stories you earn. She turned her head toward Nia and tilted it in a way that was respect, not pity. Those scars came from helping people out of a bad place. That tattoo came from making a promise and keeping it. Ray took it back, gentle and clear. This is a place where we eat and talk and get through the day. It's not a stage for making fun of what you don't understand. He looked at Mark, not as an enemy, but as the person who carried the keys. Sir, you run this ship. I know that's not easy. But it's easier if there's a chart on the wall. A sign that says who we are. Mark's face shifted. He looked at the frame, at the patch, at Nia who stood with her tray at her side, shoulders straight, eyes steady, and then at the room. He saw the regulars watching, not judging, just present. He saw Eli stand a little taller. He saw Alma's chin rise. He saw Mr. Diaz's hand settle on his cup like he was agreeing with something he had wanted to hear all along. You're right, Mark said. The words were simple. They mattered because they were simple. We need a line. I didn't draw it yesterday. I should have. His voice softened. I'm sorry, Nia. The room made a small sound then, not applause, not a cheer. More like an exhale people do together when a heavy thing gets put down in the right place. Nia did not look at the floor. She did not look up at the ceiling. She looked at Mark and said, "Thank you." 2 words. Enough. From the door, the bell chimed. A man stepped in, alone, looking distracted, scanning the booths. It was one of the group from yesterday, the one who had lifted a phone like a mirror. He stopped when he saw the frame. He stopped when he saw Ray standing with quiet authority and Lena and Miguel beside him. He stopped when he saw Nia, not hiding, not angry, simply present in her own place. He began, and the word stuck. He came forward, hat in hand. He did not swagger. He did not smirk. He looked like someone who had slept badly and had decided to do something hard. I was meeting someone, but I need to say something first. No one made him. No one asked him to. He could have turned around and left. He didn't. He took a breath. Yesterday, I thought I was being funny. I took a picture I shouldn't have taken. I wrote a thing I shouldn't have written. It was wrong. He swallowed. His eyes went to the frame and then to Nia again. I took the post down. I flagged it myself. If there's a way to fix more, I'll do it. Silence can be heavy. This silence was not. It was wide enough for a person to stand inside and change shape. Nia did not rush to fill it. She let his words sit. Then she spoke in the same steady tone she used to tell people the soup of the day. Thank you for saying that, she said. Please don't take pictures of staff again. If you hear other people doing it, tell them we have a rule now. She looked toward Mark. We do have a rule now. We do, Mark said. He moved with purpose at last. He took a clean piece of paper from the printer and, with a pen that sometimes scratched, wrote in neat block letters, no photos or videos of staff. Respect lives here. He hesitated, then added a second line under it, if a line is crossed, we say, we don't do that here. He taped the sign by the door and another by the register. It was not fancy. It was clear. The man nodded. I'm sorry, he said again, quieter, to Nia, and then he backed away, not turning it into a scene, just leaving room for better stories to happen. Lena looked at Nia with a soft smile that felt like sunlight. That's a lot of weight moved in a few minutes, she said under her breath. It is, Nia answered. She felt her chest go lighter, not empty, but open, as if windows had been unlatched in a closed room. Miguel placed the framed patch on the counter within reach of Nia's hand. We brought this for you, he said. Only if you want it here. It can live in the kitchen. It can live in a drawer. It can live with you. No pressure. We thought it might help on days when the air gets off balance. Nia rested her fingertips on the frame, not to claim it, only to greet it. The cloth under glass felt like a quiet drum, carrying a heartbeat from far away. Thank you, she said. The words were small and full. Customers began to breathe again into their own lunches. A couple at the window clinked their water glasses. Mr. Diaz wiped his eyes as if a bit of dust had floated by. Eli straightened the straw caddy like it was a flag. Alma went back to flipping and sliding and plating with the fierce grace of someone who loves her craft. Ray did not sit yet. He looked at Mark one more time. "I brought a small packet," he said. "A template for a sign. A little training script some local shops use. You don't have to take it. But it's here." Mark surprised himself by smiling. "I'll take it," he said. "And if you've got 5 minutes after the rush, Nia, would you help me plan how to teach this to the team? You see things I miss." Nia nodded. "I'd like that." The moment could have tipped into speeches and clapping. It didn't. It turned gently back into a lunch hour, which was right. The patch stayed on the counter like a small lighthouse. No one had to mention now that it was lit. The sign by the door looked plain and honest. The air felt different, lighter, steadier. It was the same room and not the same at all. When Nia returned to the side booth with pie, Lena pressed her hand again. "We'll come back next week like regulars," she said. "On a day when it's just food and jokes and the weather." "I'd like that," Nia said. Miguel left a tip under the sugar jar and, on the napkin, a small sketch of the patch. Nothing detailed, just a few lines, but it looked like strength made simple. Ray finished his pie with great seriousness, then set his fork down as if ending a small ceremony. He lifted his cup toward Nia in a quiet salute. She lifted the coffee pot in return, and for a second it felt like a tiny parade that belonged to no one and everyone. The afternoon drifted on. New customers came in under the fresh sign. The room's hum settled into that good register where conversation floats and nothing cuts. People noticed the frame and asked in respectful ways. Nia found a simple sentence that felt right: "It's a reminder of friends and of doing hard things together." That was all. That was enough. Near 3, the door opened, and a young woman stepped in with a stroller. She looked a little worn and a lot brave. She saw the sign by the door, read it, and smiled like a person who needed that sentence today. She ordered soup. She fed the baby. She laughed softly at nothing. The whole scene looked like an answer to a question: what is a diner for? This, Nia thought. Exactly this. Before Ray left, he stood beside the frame one last time. He didn't touch it. He didn't need to. He looked at Nia and said, "You did the hard part. You stayed. You told the truth without making it heavy." She shook her head. "We did it together." He nodded. "That's how the best things get done," he said. "Together." After they were gone, Nia tucked the frame behind the counter for safekeeping until they could find the right place on the wall. She wiped a ring of water from the glass and checked the pie. She refilled a tea. She reminded Eli to drink water in the heat. She smiled at Alma and asked if she could help prep for the evening. Ordinary work. Quiet joy. When she caught her reflection in the pie case, she saw the same person, the same apron, the same hair pulled back. But her eyes were different. They held a kind of light that comes when a room, a rule, and a story click into place. She touched her sleeve, lifted it a little. The small tattoo on her wrist sat there, steady as always. She didn't need to read the motto. She knew it. She smiled, not big, not for show, just honest. Then she turned back to the floor and kept going, carrying plates like promises, and carrying herself as someone who had nothing to hide and plenty to give. Morning came with a clear sky and a kind light. The new signs by the door and register looked simple and sure. The framed patch waited behind the counter, wrapped in a clean towel until Mark could hang it in the right place. The air in the diner felt different, not louder, not quieter, just steadier, like a chair with all 4 legs even at last. Nia arrived early, the way she liked. She checked the coffee machine, set out cups, and rolled napkins. She moved with the same careful rhythm as always, but inside she felt a little taller. Not in a showy way, more like a plant that has found the sun and knows where to reach. She pushed her sleeves up to mid-forearm because it was already warm. She did not tug them down again. Alma flipped the sign on the door from closed to open. "Ready?" she asked. "Ready," Nia said. Mr. Diaz came in with his soft bell ring and his morning smile. He read the sign without comment, then looked at Nia's face and said, "Good morning, kiddo." His voice held the same gentle pride it had when he saw her memorize the specials on her first week here. That felt right. Not everything had to be about the sign. Sometimes kindness just kept going. Eli rushed in 3 minutes late, hair sticking up, apology already forming. "Breathe," Nia said, grinning. "You're fine. We're in good shape." He read the sign, too. He nodded at it like it was a teammate. "I like the line," he said. "We don't do that here." He tried it out in a whisper, as if learning a new step. "We don't do that here." The morning moved well. The sign by the door did quiet work without making a fuss. People saw it and adjusted their phones before they even reached a table. When someone pulled out a camera to take a wide shot of the room, they asked, "Is this okay?" Nia said, "Yes, just no staff in the frame," and the person said, "Of course," like it was the most natural rule in the world. Maybe it was. Around 10, the city worker from the fire department returned for chili. He nodded at the sign and then at Nia's forearm. "Good rule," he said. "Good day." Small words. Solid ones. He left $1 extra and a folded flyer for a community safety class. "If your manager ever wants a quick talk for staff about how to handle tense moments, we do that," he added. "Free. We're neighbors." At lunch, a teacher brought in 3 high school students for a field trip on how small businesses work. Mark stood a little straighter when he heard the words field trip. He liked being the person with answers when students asked how many eggs they used in a day or how a shift schedule got built. Nia smiled from the service station and watched them go from station to station, host stand, pass, register like a tiny parade. When they reached the sign by the door, the teacher asked why it was there. Mark looked at Nia. She nodded. He explained calmly, not telling anyone's private story. "People deserve respect while they work," he said. "This sign keeps that promise clear. If someone forgets, we use a simple phrase, 'We don't do that here.' Then we move the talk away from the floor." He said it like a recipe he had learned to make. The students wrote notes. One of them looked at Nia with new attention, not curious about her scars, but curious about her calm. "Thanks," the student said when she refilled their water. Nia felt the word land the way a soft blanket lands, warm, light, kind. By midweek, Mark had a neat training sheet taped in the break corner, a few lines about the rule, a short script, and steps for what to do if someone crossed the line. He asked Nia and Alma to run a short practice with the team. They stood in the empty diner after hours and acted out little scenes. Eli played a customer with a phone and did a funny voice that made everyone laugh. Nia showed how to keep her voice gentle and firm at the same time. "We don't do that here," she said, smooth as water. "We're happy to serve you. Photos of staff are not allowed." Alma showed how to step in and stand at Nia's shoulder so no one felt alone. The lesson took 15 minutes. It changed the room in a quiet, lasting way. On Friday, the framed patch found its home. Mark hung it near the pie case, not in the middle like a trophy, but where it could be seen without turning it into a show. Under it, he put a small card, a reminder that some courage is visible, some is quiet, and both deserve respect. He did not sign his name. He did not need to. People asked about the patch. Nia kept her answer simple. "It stands for friends and for doing hard things together," she said. If someone wanted to make a speech or dig into the story, the room itself seemed to hold them gently back. The sign by the door, the frame by the counter, the calm in Nia's face, they worked together like a small choir singing the same song. Saturday brought a new idea. A regular who owned the print shop down the street offered to make nicer versions of the signs for free. "I can laminate them," she said. "Hot coffee spills are a real thing." The florist brought a tiny vase for the counter with 2 sunflowers for cheer. The library put a flyer on the bulletin board for a Respect in Public Spaces discussion next month, with a little line at the bottom, "Hosted by neighbors." It felt like the town was setting its own table, forks straight, napkins folded, names ready to be learned. On Sunday, Nia and her mother tried a new recipe at home, a simple lemon pasta with herbs from a windowsill pot. They ate at the small table by the window and talked about work and the TV show where the cake fell, but everyone clapped anyway. Nia told her mom about the training and the patch on the wall. Her mother listened with her chin in her hand. "You changed your workplace," she said softly. "Not by shouting. By standing." Nia shook her head. "We did it together," she said. "Ray helped. Alma helped. Even Mark learned." Her mother smiled. "Good," she said. "Let many hands hold the good." The next week, Mark tried something else. On a whiteboard near the register, he wrote, "Community Night Wednesdays in August. Discounts for first responders, teachers, nurses, and service members. A portion of tips goes to a local recovery fund." He looked at Nia before he finished the line. "Which fund would feel right?" he asked. She thought for a moment of burn survivors, of people learning to live in new skin, of steady steps on hard days. "The burn center," she said. "They help a lot of families." Mark nodded and wrote it down. It felt good to write a promise in public. On the first community night, the room filled with people who looked tired in the way people look when they give a lot and ask little. They ate well. They laughed the kind of laughter that stayed kind. Kids colored on paper placemats with little cups of crayons. A nurse tucked her phone away, read the sign by the door, and sighed with relief. "Oh, thank goodness," she said. "I'm off the clock." The tip jar filled. The burn center got a call the next morning with a small donation and a note, from a diner that believes in steady care. Not every day was easy. A traveler once tried to lean over the counter with his camera and take a video because the pancakes looked cool in slow motion. Nia used the phrase, "We don't do that here." He frowned and said something about free country. Mark stepped up and backed her with calm. "Not in this private business," he said. "Happy to serve. No photos of staff." The traveler adjusted, ate his pancakes, and left a decent tip. No fireworks. No scene. The rule held. Sometimes people still stared at Nia's scars. People are people. But the stare did not land the same way anymore. It slid off a new surface in the room, the one made of signs, training, and shared understanding. And Nia felt different too. She did not hide her arms in the heat. She did not rush past her reflection. She wore a thin bracelet next to the tattoo, 2 small beads and a knot, simple, steady. Ray kept his corner booth. Some mornings they talked about ordinary things, the weather, the price of tomatoes, a neighbor's silly dog that wore sweaters. Some mornings they did not talk at all, and the silence felt friendly, like 2 people reading in the same room. Sometimes he left an envelope with a clipping about a community program or a simple list of words that felt like a pocket-size compass: steady, clear, kind. Together. Lena and Miguel returned now and then as plain customers, as they liked to say. They ordered soup and a sandwich and pie. They did not point to the patch on the wall. They did not tell stories unless asked by someone ready to hear. When a small group of teens came in after school and tried to take a secret video for laughs, Lena caught their eye and shook her head once, friendly and firm. The teens read the sign, and one of them said, "My bad," out loud. Then they ate fries, argued about a game, and left a note on a napkin, "Good food. Good rule." One afternoon, the man who had posted the bad review came back with a folded paper. He looked awkward but sincere. He handed it to Mark and asked him to read it out loud only if Nia wanted. The paper was a short apology that named no one and blamed no one. It simply said he had acted wrong, had learned better, and had asked the site to remove the photo and the words for good. Nia listened while Mark read it to her in the back hall. She nodded once. "Thank you," she said when they returned to the counter. He did not ask for anything in return. He only said, "I'll tell friends about the rule," and he did. Sometimes change is a circle small, but it turns. As summer stretched on, the diner settled into its new shape. It became the kind of place where regulars brought new people and said, "This is where they look after you." It became the kind of place where a kid with a skateboard and a grandma with a cane both found seats that felt like theirs. It became the kind of place where staff could do their work without bracing for the next sharp thing. On a slow afternoon, the light came in buttery and soft. Nia took a moment at the pie case to look at the framed patch on the wall. It wasn't a spotlight. It wasn't a banner. It was a small, steady thing like a heartbeat. She placed a palm near the glass for a second, not touching, just greeting a piece of herself that now lived here too. She thought about the girl she had been before, the one who moved through rooms hoping to be invisible. She thought about the woman she was now, moving through the same rooms with the same skills, but with her head a little higher and her sleeves a little shorter. The world outside had not turned into a storybook. People still had hard days. Phones still pointed too fast in some places. But here, in this diner, a set of simple choices had added up to something strong, a sign, a sentence, a frame, a few brave minutes, and many small acts of care repeated until they became the way of things. Closing time came. Alma hummed while she cleaned the grill. Eli stacked cups without dropping a single one. Mark counted the drawer and, without being asked, set aside the envelope for the burn center. He handed it to Nia. "Would you like to drop this off on your way home?" he asked. She nodded. He added a small card that said, "From all of us." Nia stepped out into the evening with the envelope in her bag and the day's good tired in her bones. The air smelled like warm pavement and cut grass. She passed the florist, now dark, and the print shop with its neat window. She saw the reflection of the diner sign in a puddle and smiled because even reflections can look solid when the water is calm. At the door of the burn center, she paused and looked at her hands, strong and capable, the scars like soft maps that told where she had been and where she had chosen to go next. She went in, left the envelope, and came back out under the wide sky. Later that week, in the middle of a bright lunch, Ray lifted his cup in that small salute he always used. Nia lifted the coffee pot. The unit tattoo showed clear on her wrist, and no one looked away and no one stared too long. People just saw a person doing her job well in a place that had learned how to be kind on purpose. The bell rang. New customers came in. The sign by the door caught the light. Nia smiled at the room she helped shape, then moved forward with her steady step. Pour, place, smile, listen, carrying plates like promises and carrying herself like someone who belonged.